running down. It makes me feel so happy and happy as can be. When I think of Jesus and what he has done for me, there is something in my heart like a stream running down. It's bubbling, it's bubbling, it's bubbling in my soul. I'm singing, I'm shouting, since Jesus made me whole. Some folks can't understand it, but I can't keep it quiet. It's B-U-B-B-L-I-N-G bubbling in my soul. What a mighty God we serve. What a mighty God we serve. The angels bow before him, and the earth adore him. What a mighty God we serve. He's able, he's able. I know he's able. I know my Lord is able to carry me through. He's able, he's able. I know he's able. I know my Lord is able to carry me through. For he has healed the brokenhearted and set the captives free. He made the lame to walk again and caused the blind to see. He's able, he's able. I know he's able. I know my Lord is able to carry me through. There is therefore no condemnation. There is therefore no condemnation. There is therefore no condemnation. There is no condemnation in my heart. Oh sisters, how do you feel? We feel alright, sisters. How do you feel? We feel alright, sisters. How do you feel? We feel alright. There is no condemnation in my heart. Oh brothers, how do you feel? You feel alright, brothers. How do you feel? You feel alright, brothers. How do you feel? You feel alright. There is no condemnation in my heart. Cast your burdens onto Jesus, for he cares for you. Cast your burdens onto Jesus, for he cares for you. Higher, 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 higher. Lift Jesus higher, 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 higher. Lift Jesus higher. Oh, lower, 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 lower. Stop, Satan, lower, 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 lower. Stop, Satan, lower. Super, 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 supernatural power. Super, 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 supernatural power. You want to see the glory of the Lord? Why don't you praise him? Lift up your hands and praise him. Oh, if you want to see the glory of the Lord, why don't you lift up your hands and praise the Lord? Why don't you praise him in the morning, praise him in the noontime, praise him in the evening? Why don't you praise him all the day long? Lift up your hands and praise the Lord. Jesus on the main line, tell him what you want. Jesus on the main line, tell him what you want. Jesus on the main line, tell him what you want. You just call him up and tell him what you want. Call him up, tell him what you want. Call him up, tell him what you want. Call him up, tell him what you want. You just call him up and tell him what you want. I've been right out, right up, right down, right happy all the time. I've been right out, right up, right down, right happy all the time. Since Jesus Christ came in and cleansed my heart from sin, I've been right out, right up, right down, right happy all the time. I've been right out, right up, right down, right happy all the time. I've been
afternoon, Jamal.
I've come to ask you a favor.
A favor?
Yes.
Okay.
The favor is that you answer a question for me.
All right.
Okay. So, how to ask this? In general, what do women want? Because well, right now, you know, I have my girlfriend, and to be very honest, I'm struggling. When I call she, sometimes when I call she tell me I'm calling she too much. When I reduce the amount of calls by 2, she tell me I'm not calling she enough. Then sometimes if we end up going out to buy anything, she could tell me, let me go and do this specifically. Then we might spend the whole day we and do that. Then when I ask she, how come we're not doing that? She tell me I just back to front or frustrating. I lost.
You know, interesting. You know, I was just reading what the Bible says. You know. The Bible has an answer for that. In Thessalonians, it says, behold, I show you a mystery. What women want is a mystery. And unfortunately, that is because sometimes they themselves don't know. Women's brains do work like ours.
Oh, that's true, because
if you
we could actually think about nothing.
If you go out to buy something, you're going to buy it because of function. A woman may choose to buy something because of how it looks. And sometimes by the time she pick it up, it doesn't look as good in her hand as it look on the shelf, and she change her mind, she's going to buy something else.
Okay.
She would ask you to call. You would call her if you have something to say.
Yeah.
She wants you to call in the hope that by the time you call, you find something to say. Because that's how they are.
They're not run that again?
You would call her because you have something to say.
Right.
But she wants you to call and then find something to say when you're calling. You have to call for nothing specific. It's the difference. They're not like men. Men operate by function and that kind of thing. Women operate on a different level. It's not that it's bad. It's just different.
All right.
So they are more emotional about things than we are. We fight up with things, and things that you fight up with is a big deal to them. It's not that it's wrong. Women are different. So the answer to what women want is really a mystery, and the mystery has not yet been solved. It's a part you have to walk very cautiously and try as you go along to understand as much as that is possible that particular woman. Because I can't even tell you look at your mother, because that is not your mother you're going out with. And there are two different women whose brains work differently as much as they work differently to ours. Mm-hmm. And so it may take a while to understand how this one operates. And when I say a while, I really mean it takes a while. Don't rush it, but it's not an answer that and I'm sure there's no other man could give you an answer as to what women want. Mm-hmm. And if you don't believe me, there's never been a woman who has answered that question as to what women want either. So be careful, because what they respond to is based on what emotion is leading them at a particular time.
Oh, okay.
All right, so just be careful, be cautious, be respectful. Treat her the way you would want somebody to treat your sister or your mother.
Okay.
But understand that that is not a question that anybody could provide an answer for you for.
All right. Well, I will take your advice. I have nothing to tell you right about now, so I'll go and call you. Going outside.
All right, I hope things work out.
Welcome to ASI Media this afternoon. My name is Charles Smith. I have the privilege of welcoming you to such an exciting program we're going to have today. With me on set, we're going to have 3 beautiful young ladies who are going to share with us that age-old question is going to be answered. What do women want? That is a question that has been raised since time immemorial. The greatest of minds, even Solomon, has sought to peer into the mind of a woman and has come back blank. There has been no answer so far to that question. But today, we are going to have with us 1 single, beautiful young lady, 2 married with children, trying to look deeper into that question of what do women want? It is my prayer, it is my hope that as you sit with us today, as you enjoy your experience in our AY program this afternoon, that this question would finally be laid to rest. We had surveyed 100 women, and the results came in, and it was a wide spectrum of things you could not even imagine what a woman wants. And so, before we delve into this topic, before we seek to decipher this cipher, we're going to be favored with special music this afternoon. And the song that will be shared with us, for some of the men who are out there, it might be apt when it comes to what women want, because the name of that song is Pray On. Pray On. So at this time, I want to welcome our special music for this afternoon, our AY program.
The army of Judah was paralyzed by fear when they heard a mighty multitude was quickly drawing near. But as they prayed for deliverance, the victory would begin. For when we call upon the Lord, we summon all of heaven. Pray on, for you are who the Lord is looking for. Pray on, for this will tear those mighty strongholds down. Stay on your knees, for this is where the battle is won. Very soon you win the victory. Pray on. When Daniel faced the lions for worshiping the Lord, it seemed there was no hope at all for what would be in store. But when we stand on holy ground, our smallest prayer is heard. Instead of on our circumstance, our eyes are on the Lord. Pray on, for you are who the Lord is looking for. Pray on, for this will tear those mighty strongholds down. Stay on your knees, for this is where the battle is won. Very soon you win the victory. Pray on. When your questions go unanswered and your prayers may seem in vain, they don't seem to make a difference. They don't seem to make a change. Just rest assured, God knows your needs, and He hears each time you pray. Your prayers are reaching heaven, and the answers on the way. Pray on, for you are who the Lord is looking for. Pray on, for this will tear those mighty strongholds down. Stay on your knees, for this is where the battle is won. pray on.
Good afternoon and welcome back. Sorry for the delay. It seems as though we of ourselves, we can't figure out what women want. But today we would get the answer to that question. Live on set, I have here with me Shabiki Vivas, and we have been able to pin her down. She's from the land of many waters, someone who is internationally traveled, and we know that the new trend isn't to write books, but rather to have podcasts and so forth. And so you would be able to see Sabiki Vivas on her podcast on YouTube and Facebook weekly, on Thursdays from 6 to 6:30 p.m. rather. Now, she's a graduate from the Cyril Potter House of Education with an associate degree in business as well as a minor in English. And she furthered her studies, and she has a bachelor's degree of arts in theology and a minor in psychology, which she acquired last year. And she's currently employed at the Harmon School of SDA, the premier educational institute for secondary school on the island of Tobago. And she is a religious educator there. Now, her favorite quote is from Napoleon Hill, which says, "Whatever the mind of a man or woman can conceive and believe, it can be achieved." She lives by the mantra, enjoy every moment of life as we travel along life's journey, but ensure God is the center of it. I want to welcome on set Shibiki Vivas. Welcome, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here.
And we would have joining us as well, a little later in the program, two other persons, women, of course, who would be able to answer that question, what do women want? Shibiki, when you heard that question, when you were asked that question and to come on set, what was the first thing that popped into your mind?
Well, the first thing, honestly, Charles, that came to my mind is like, okay, what we want in men, what we want as it relates to relationship. I thought about nothing else. That's the first thing.
Yeah, and I guess in life there's a tendency for things to drift down that way. And I suppose it's not just what we want in men, but that list of things that, you know, we itemize 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But this afternoon, we also want to look more broadly, not to simply try to bracket or to encapsulate females into marriage partners, but rather, what do women want for their own lives? And so, before we get the other panelists involved, I want to ask you a couple questions, Shibiki, if that's okay.
Certainly.
Right, nice. So, tell me something. You're in Tobago. How has Tobago been treating you so far?
Well, Tobago has been great. Thankfully, I've gained family, I've gained friends, especially, I don't know if the Kennedys are looking, my landlord. I mean, they are super amazing. And of course, Harmon family. And of course, my very own pastor, English Newsome, who has been a constant source of support. So I'm enjoying it.
All right, wonderful. I'm glad to hear that. I too am alumnus of Harmon School of SDA. I wish somehow I could go back there to teach and share with the children. But I suppose that's a dream that will not come true for me. But what about you? What is the best thing about being a female, a woman? What's the best thing?
All right, I don't know, for you ladies who are listening, I think for the very first time, that was like one of the hardest questions for me to answer. You know, I internalized it, like, what's the best thing about us females? And I pinpointed a few of them. I don't know if it will be applicable to you, but that's just to me personally. The ability for us to be nurturers and, well, emotional beings. And, you know, for us to be able to express ourselves fully to others. So even though there might be situations that we're facing in life, we're never really afraid to talk it to that friend or, you know, or to that special person. The other thing that I looked at, I'm not a mother as yet, but when I interact with mothers, I will always hear them say, you know, one of the best things that happened to them is for them to bring forth children. So that's another thing many females are categorized as being, you know, the best thing for them as a female. I think I'll stop with those two for today.
All right, and when we get the other two panelists involved, I'm sure they may be able to address the issue of childbirth and all of that. But what is the worst thing though? Because for me, I've heard some women say that childbirth is actually the worst thing about being female. What about you? What do you think? You haven't experienced that as yet, but what is the worst thing for you?
Okay, for that question, I honestly feel, you know, being a woman is like sometimes we have not been able to attain that glass ceiling. You know, society we live in, practically a patriarchal society, even though we are not, let's say in Asia or anywhere. But even here in the Caribbean, we find that when, as women, we want to accomplish things, yes, we can do it. But then when it comes to still being in certain positions, you will hear men saying, hey, what are you doing here? You're a woman. You know, sometimes when it comes to organizations, you have the same position as a man who would have been in that position, in that managerial position, but you're getting less pay and he's getting more pay than you, all because of the fact that, you know, you are a woman. I mean, even in classes, and let me just, I have to touch there. I mean, being someone who would have completed theology and being in class with merely men, you know, some of them would blatantly ask you, why did you do ministry? Why are you here? You know, what you want to accomplish? Do you want to be the teacher? Do you want to be a pastor? And, you know, sometimes trying to refute some of the claims that you have, or some of well, what God would have called you for. And so sometimes it can put you at a place whereby it's like, Lord, really? Because I'm a female? Like, really and truly because that? So I think that's one of the worst things for me personally. Maybe some other women can attest of being a female.
Wow. Wow. This afternoon, we also have online with us Tusker Francis Scott. And Tusker is a wife of 13 years. She's married to Weldon Scott and is a mother of 3 unique, creative, wonderful, beautiful daughters, Eden, Emma, and Elsia. She's the principal consultant of the Impact Group. She's a project management specialist. So she has been working there for 16 years, working with teams out of Africa, North and South America, the Caribbean. Tusker has experience in children, youth, and women ministries, and she also holds an MBA from the Andrews University. She spends most of her time writing project documents, of course, breaking up fights if she has children, hanging out with her family, and talking to her girls about Jesus. Tusker has a passion for Seventh-day Adventist young women and young women on a whole. She believes that young women can change the world. She has learned that when you know whose you are, focus on harnessing your unique talents, your influence and potential will become phenomenal. So I want to say a special welcome to Tusker this afternoon. And Tusker, let's jump right into it. What is the best thing about being a woman?
Hello. And so I asked myself, what is the best and worst thing? And my best thing is the worst thing. I find the unique ability for a woman to multitask. We are able to attend to multiple things at the same time. And that makes us very potent and powerful and great organizers and great leaders, excellent at organizing and managing a home. But it also makes us horrible at stopping, calming down, taking time for yourself. It can allow you to be taken advantage of in different situations that you find yourself in. So my worst thing that is my best thing. I find it so amazing that we can multitask and do so many things at the same time. And that is our Achilles heel as well. And let me first say, I am not speaking for all women. There may be some women who what I say would resonate with, and there's some women who will say, but what's she talking about? So let me just put that out there one time.
Tusker, I'm going to stay with you and I'm going to ask you, you're married, and I know Weldon, he's somewhere in the background listening to your responses, because he would have heard in the past that women, they want to be independent. You know, there's the independent woman mantra out there, woman power and all of that. What does that look like to you? And do women really want to be independent?
You. This question, had you asked me it 14 years ago, I would have had a different answer for you. Because I really believe as a single woman and a married woman, how you define that word is different. However, so independence, if we're thinking about independence in terms of free-spirited and free-thinking and individualistic, yeah, sure, we all want to be that. But if you start to go on the side of unconstrained, unrefrained, unfettered, unhampered, or self-sufficient and self-sustaining and self-reliant, we start to get in a bit of trouble. As a married woman, at least I find. And so for me, what independence looks like is the ability to think as an individual while still allowing myself to be influenced by significant trusted external forces, right? And so for me, my most significant external force is God, right? And I'm not truly independent. I am constrained by the love of Christ. I am constrained to function in particular ways when I don't feel like it, right? And right next to that is my spouse. I mean, really and truly, I have to be considerate of my activity, my movements, my plans. And in fact, one of the benefits I believe of being a married woman is instead of interdependence, right? In fact, that kind of synergy that you get. And synergy really speaks to the ability to add two things and get something much more than you would have had if you had those two things separate, right? It's more than the sum of the two parts by themselves. And so for me, I willingly give up the independence that speaks to I am the woman of my own boat. Nobody can tell me what to do. And I prefer to embrace synergistic interdependence with my spouse.
Depth there. That was some depth there. I want to ask Shibiki the same question because whereas you are married 16 years, children, I mean, all of that, I mean, she's still out there searching, right? And she perhaps would be you 14 years ago, maybe, I don't know. Shibiki, what does that mean to you, that phrase independent woman? And do women really want to be independent?
I have to laugh. Searching. Okay. All right. Let me digest that part, the first part of that. All right. So I want to answer the question twofold as it relates to independence. First of all, when I look at the meaning of independent, one of the meaning is, okay, not being controlled by outside authority and all of that. But then the other aspect of it is being free to be able to manage yourself as it relates to livelihood and all of those things. That term in the sense of independence as a single woman, I use it in that context because it feels good when I don't have to depend on a man or I don't have to depend on parents. Yes, thank God, thankfully for those individuals who still call and still support financially whenever they can. But then to know that you're here, you can't do nothing for yourself, you have to be calling, or maybe you're in a relationship, he has to be giving you anything, like, So I like the term independent functions effectively for me in that respect. But as it relates on being independent in other aspects of life, I mean, we're humans, right? No man is an island, and we cannot survive without each other. So we are talking about, okay, what women want. When I look at that, it's like, I need to know that I have persons I can depend on, as Tuska would have rightly mentioned in terms of her being interdependent in terms of she and her spouse. When I look at that, it's like, I believe in partnership, I believe in teamwork, I believe in all of those things. So I don't go with a feministic point of view when the feminist movement will push that agenda of, oh, women, you should be independent, don't depend on nobody. Like, come on, we can't do it alone, no matter how you twist or you turn it. Even if as a woman, a single woman, you want to be single for the rest of your life, lady, there are people we have to depend on. But yes, you may be able to sustain yourself, your livelihood, because you're working, you have your career going. But to depend on yourself holistically, like how some people would project independence to be, it's almost impossible.
Oh my. Wow, this is a mouthful. This is changing, this is coloring my perspective entirely. And so I want to bring in that final person who's going to join us on the panel this afternoon. I'm told that she is a mother of two beautiful children, who's 6 and 3 years old respectively, and that she presently works as a graduate teacher, and she's a qualified counseling psychologist. Before venturing into the unknown world of teaching professionally, she worked as a counseling psychologist and facilitator for 3 years with teens and young adults and families. She's a proud Seventh-day Adventist who has been a servant of God for most of her life. Less than a year ago, she was led to write inspirational devotions and aspires to share these messages with the world through published writings. Subsequently, she formed a ministry to minister to women, inspiring and empowering them to love themselves completely and experience personal development so that they can have success on an individual level and in their relationships with others and with God. Her greatest desire, to see Jesus when he comes. I'm told that her name is Laurelyn Murray. And so I want to welcome you to our program this afternoon. When you heard that you were going to be part of this program, what do women want? What came to your mind, Laurelyn?
Trying to set, because that has been a debate for decades. Yes, I am. Are you hearing me? Yes.
Clear and set.
I said the first thing I thought, the first thing I thought of this is a setup, because this has been a long-standing debate. So that's the first thought.
Only me, one person, just listening from an ordinary man's point of view. There's no judging on this set. Whatever you say, we leave it right here. Of course, I must put out a disclaimer at this moment that whatever questions I may ask are the property of ASI Media, so my wife viewing at home would not in any way take this as my personal opinion. Right, now moving on, we're talking about independence. We're talking about independence and what that looks like and what women, if they really value that. But what are some of the other things that women value for their lives? What would you say 3 things that women value, Laurelyn, in their lives? What are perhaps 3 things or so that you would value? Right, and it seems as though we're having a minor connectivity issue there, and that's all right. So in studio here, we have Shibiki. What are 3 things women value in their lives?
Well, again, this is for some women, and personally for me, I value in terms of relationship with God, spirituality in general. There is this innate desire for me, not because I did the studies in it, but when I can spend that much needed time with God and knowing that God is listening, knowing that I can tell him anything. So I value spirituality.
Right.
The second thing that I value a lot is family and close friends, you know, people who can be there to support me. When I look at my immediate family, but even though they're back home, we're in constant connection, constant communication. I can still call and I can relay my deepest hurts, my pains, you know, and we can have that open dialogue. And even with friends who are here, the family I would have gained away from home. So for me, I value that the most. And finally, in terms of goals, achievement, accomplishment, I believe in, I think it was it Martin Luther King that said, no matter what you do, keep moving. No matter where you are, just know that you keep moving. And so I value upward mobility. It's not about being here, oh, today I am this, and I just gonna sit there and that is all I'm gonna accomplish in life. No, I value that, hey, at the end of the day, their short-term goals, their long-term goals, I have to achieve, because why? All of those things contribute to my upward mobility. So those are the 3 things I value the most.
All right. I just want to switch gears here just a little bit, right? And ask Tusker, because I know that Weldon is probably wondering. For the longest while, men have been wondering, it seems as though women never decide on what to wear. It seems to be a challenge. I've heard the phrase, I have no clothes. And then you open the closet and the closet is full of clothes. What does that mean? What's up with that? I have nothing to wear as a woman.
I don't mean to disappoint you, right? But recently, Just before COVID, I took up a particular policy with regards to clothes. It's something I started when we were living Tacarigua. We now moved down to South. And I started it with Wednesday nights. Every Wednesday night, I would wear the same dress to church. The same dress every time. And I realized it freed me up. I just didn't have to make that decision anymore. And then I realized like people who are respected like Steve Jobs and they don't make that decision. They have a closet full of the same thing. So they take out making a decision as to what you wear from being in their mind space of important decisions. So I don't think I'm the best woman to ask that to, because I have now extended that. So I have 2 runabout clothes. My daughters laugh at me because I wear the same dress to the grocery, Pennywise, the market, all those places, same dress. If you see me, it's the same dress. If I have to pick up the kids, it's the same dress. I wash it, I wear it again. And now COVID has released me from church, because what I started to do was a rotation, 4 outfits, one Sabbath, next Sabbath, next Sabbath, next Sabbath. One Sabbath, I am not stressing out myself with what to wear. So I'm not sure you asked the right woman, because I seem as though I have so many things to do. I can't make a decision about what I wear be one of the things that I decide on every day. No judgment to anybody else who into their clothes. But that's just not a thing that I do.
I have to send you the phone number of some people who are close to me and have them call you, because you seem to have it down pat, right? You seem to have it down pat. And you're like a woman after my own heart, right? This is I come to ASI Media often, and if you go back and look at the videos, you would see that I wear 2 sweaters every time I come. It's either a blue one or a black one. It takes the thinking out of it, and I'm with you. What do women want to wear? And I see Shabiki is killing herself on set because she wants to share her opinion, and then we would go to Laurelyn. Come on, talk to us.
All right. Well, for me, Tosca, I'm the opposite of you. Only this afternoon I had this same dilemma, because yesterday I was like, okay, I'm coming to ASI. I am very particular with my skirt lengths, so I know that only certain clothing I can wear. But then I have reasonable, pretty much longish skirts. But then the problem was, what to wear? So I dismissed that yesterday, and I'm there today. And Pass is there to pick me up. And on to that point in time, I am trying on a whole set of clothing because I don't know what to wear. I picked out a suit top, and I'm like, I'm going to wear this. And I remembered, no, I went to ASI with this already. I can't wear this again. And maybe she was waiting for about maybe 15, 20 minutes just because I was so indecisive. I don't know if I will ever reach to that point that Tosca reached, but I love clothing. It's not a case I don't have. Maybe you just don't that particular event, Charles, you don't feel as if you want to wear this for this particular event. So right. Many women, I don't know if your wife do the same, but we go in a try-on mentality. Right. We try on a whole set of different
I wouldn't
clothing.
comment on what my wife did. She'd probably move me into the living room, for the night or something. So I wouldn't comment.
Yeah, so it's like if we don't have, but it's just that sometimes our minds, it goes so many different places as it relates to attire. And right. Any woman that loves dressing, it's sometimes a hard decision to make.
Okay, all right. Laurelyn, you're there? All right, she's in there. But that's but one of the things that challenged me as a male, trying to understand and appreciate, because obviously I have daughters, I have a spouse, I have a mother who I have to go and pick up often, to do things. I have sisters who I have to take places, and so my life is riddled with female, and I'm yet to fully appreciate. Let's push on. There's this niggling question, particularly for single females, that you would wish they would stop asking you. That perhaps mothers, fathers, persons at church, your friends, what is it that you would want them to stop asking you when they see you or commenting on? Shibiki, what is it? Tell us that question this afternoon.
For the single ladies who are listening, I don't think this question is very hard for you. The question we are often asked is, when are you going to get married? Are you in a serious relationship now? So those two questions, they intertwine. For me, honestly speaking, would I say, oh, stop asking me that question? I think some persons ask it from a genuine perspective. I mean, thinking about back home, there are persons who are genuinely just waiting for the day Shibiki will say, I do. And so they ask the question not with any negative intent or anything. But it's a question that can sometimes become annoying to the point where psychologically speaking, you're like, hey, for real, boy, everybody expects me to be married now. Why I'm not really not married? But I have come to a point, thankfully, for the last few months that really and truly is no longer a question that will bother me because of the fact that my mindset has changed.
I thought you were getting married. Go ahead, yeah, your mindset has changed.
Approaching this new journey, I think it's like, hey, when I get married, I get married. For me, the main thing about it is that I am not stagnant. I'm accomplishing things. I'm doing things. I'm furthering my studies. So it's like, I've reached a point that, Shibiki, after all, you have reached this far in life, but you were never stagnant. When that man comes, he will just add value to your life. But in the meantime, just enjoy your single life. Enjoy every bit of it. So that's my mentality right now.
I just got some poll results just came in. We surveyed 100 women, and the results say what women want. The first thing they said, top 3 things. They want love, they want honesty, they want commitment and support. And I'm assuming that this is in the context of a relationship. And you see, that's the thing. Whenever the question of what do women want, it somehow always slants its way in the direction of a relationship. Always slants its way that way. But I want to go back to our guest who is online with us. And I want to ask her the same question because you are married. And so the question that people may ask you might be a bit different. What is that one niggling question that you would want them to stop asking you? Because for me, they keep asking me when I'm making the boy child, you know, or stuff like that. What is that question to you, Laurelyn? Audio problems, Laurelyn. I'm not hearing you in the studio here.
Are you
All
hearing
right, not a problem. So I want to ask our other guest who's online, Tosca, to share with us about her. What is the question that and I want you to think about that, the answer to that question, and I will come right back to you, Tosca. That question is, what is the question that you would prefer that those old fogies who reach out to you, they would stop asking, you know? Or perhaps the young men who see you and, you know, are this hot middle-aged woman and say, hey, you married? They might be asking you that all the time, and you would prefer that they stop. But I'm not going to color your statement. You would come back to that. I just want to change gears just a little bit, Shibiki, and ask, you're living in Tobago now. You're originally from Guyana.
Yeah.
What is the hardest thing you've ever had to make up your mind on as a young person?
All right, so I don't think Tobago is an issue. Move location's never an issue for me. I'm very adventurous. As long as I know one person in a new location, I am quite all right with it. But I think when I did a reminisce on the past, I thought about my decision when I was going to college. So I was basically a trained teacher from, well, I wasn't trained as yet, sorry. So I was employed with the government. That was back in 2009. I was employed with the government, right? Just started teaching. And the October month, I made a decision to go to college. But I was teaching at the secondary school, and I was teaching at a private school also, where I was getting an extra income at privates. So it was like a situation whereby when college came up, I'm like, here, what? I'm going to go to college part-time, whereby I can just teach as normal in the morning. I can still have my evening classes where I can get my extra money. in addition to that, I can study. So that was my mindset. However, when I attended the interview in the day, I was told I cannot go to college full-time, part-time, I have to go full-time, which means that I have to make a pertinent decision. College is reopening the Monday, the Thursday is my entrance interview. I have to make that decision on the spot. I can change to go to Berbice branch, which I'm living not far from there, but I will have to do English. I never wanted to major in English because I've loved business so much. The only place that is doing business, my first love, is in the city. And if I have to do that, I have to be there part-time. So I went home and I cried, because why? I have to go and tell my students this Thursday night that I'm no longer teaching them because I can't come back to teach them. I have to leave my job now, knowing that my parents can't even afford to send me to college. So there is no income coming in either direction, but I want to go to college. And after crying and all of those things and agonizing, thankfully a friend called me and she said, hey, her mom gave me some stuff, and I was able to make that hard decision without any income. And successfully for me, my private school date would have changed. The children begged for me. The principal changed the date to Sunday. And I was able to return every weekend. But I always ponder on that decision. But God always has his way of doing things. And yeah.
Wow. Wow, that's I could see that being a tough decision to make. And there are many women out there who would have had to make tough decisions. And we want to narrow it down in terms of relationships. You'd have had to make a tough relationship, to end a relationship, or to start a new one. What has been your toughest decision to make, Shibiki, where relationships are concerned?
That's a hard question. I mean, where relationship is concerned, okay, so I had this scenario. I love this guy very much, and but I realized a period of time that the relationship can't work. I just had to make that hard decision to leave. But yeah, that was very hard. But I always try to look at the long term. What about the future? I look at the future. So when I think about the future, I realize that, hey, after all, it wasn't that much of a hard decision after all.
Wow, looking back at it, I know leaving relationships could be really hard. I would have experienced that. But God would have promised you that once you make the right decision for him, that obviously the latter will be greater than the former. At this time, we need to pay some bills. So we're going to take a break, and we're going to have a special music that will be done by Sister Smith, Skeet. I'm told by Sister Skeet, yes, by Sister Skeet. My production manager is telling me. So we're going to have a special music done by Sister Skeet at this time as we move along in our AY program today.
I love you, Lord, for your mercy never fails me. All my days I've been held in your hand, from the moment that I wake up until I lay my head. Oh, I will sing of the goodness of God, 'cause all my life you have been faithful, and all my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, oh, I will sing of the goodness of God. With every breath that I am able, oh, I will sing of the goodness of God.
Welcome back. For those of you who are now joining us, we are talking about what do women want? What do women want? And I want to thank Sunil Skeet for that song, The Goodness of God. Bless your heart. Continue to serve God in your ministry. This evening I have with me here Shabiki, who has consented to give her opinions on what she wants. Because I guess that she wouldn't be able to speak universally for all women, but some women would be able to associate with the things that she is saying. And she would have just shared with us before we went to the break that one of the toughest decisions she would have had to make was to end a relationship, to call it off, to break up with that person who she would have loved. Now, the thing about this segment is that we're moving into the relationships. What do women want in relationships? Now, we know that companionship and partnership, I'm told, is sort of the glue of relationships. And they tend to keep relationships lasting a lot longer. Do women want to date friends? Do they want to be with friends? Because I'm told, many years ago, I used to be in the friend zone. We know what the friend zone is. Yeah, the friend zone. So the question I want to ask is, do women really want to date friends, Shibiki?
I think it varies from women to women. I mean, let me personalize here. I think if a man is in a friend zone, generally speaking, if you see we put a man in a friend zone, it means that we just don't like him. There are things about him that we don't like, but we don't know how to come out frankly and say to him, hey bro, I really don't like this about you. So we refer to it to be on the safe side. We call him friend.
Yeah, you like him as a friend.
As a friend. Mm-hmm. So it's always a bypass, that we usually use. But as it relates to being with friends, I really don't have a problem being with a friend, depending on if that person I would have shared lifelong, a long time, and then I realized, because one of the things sometimes happen, and in dialogue with other women, I found this out, is that you may have a friend for several years, and then during the course of that friendship, you realize that, hey, I like this person. I love this person more than a friend. And so sometimes you find yourself in that same situation. If that friend decides to come forward to ask for a relationship, especially if he sees and observes that maybe you like him more than a friend, I mean, yeah, why not, But that will vary from woman to woman.
All right, so if you're in the friend zone, there's a reason why you're there. There's something that perhaps he or she doesn't really want to get into a relationship with. And so that's why you have been placed in the friend zone, which means that there are some deal breakers. There are some deal breakers that would place you into the friend zone. What are some of the physical characteristics about men that could be a deal breaker that would place them eternally in the friend zone and not be considered for as a companion? Shibiki?
All right, so if I was in a room with a group of ladies talking, I would have mentioned all of those characteristics.
All right.
Because of the fact that I am universal and I'm on ASI Media, this is a question that, generally speaking, I back down to answer. The reason why, ladies, that's one of the things we have to be very careful. It's okay to answer questions, but when it comes to self-disclosure with this, for this particular thing, it can be a setup for us in the long term. So I would turn this particular question down. Those of you who know me and you really want to find out, feel free to message me. You may be able to get the response, but I would not publicly declare this. Next, you know, a young man comes up and, people can't pretend, right?
Absolutely.
You know, oh, Shibiki would have said these are some of our deal breakers. These are some of the things she liked. Oh, I think I fit into that category. So because of that, I'm not going to answer this question on set.
Yeah, you see, and that's tough for Jamal Brown, who just messaged us on YouTube to speak about the proverbial friend zone, that place of limbo, not knowing what it is that the female actually looking for. So what I would suggest to Jamal and to others is that you come right out and ask.
Definitely.
You come right out and ask. That's one of the things that I would suggest you communicate, which is something that I have to ask about, obviously, Shibiki.
No, just before you go there, I want to make a point on that thing, coming out and ask. You know, sometimes men would not get responses if, for example, a guy can't come up to me now and ask me certain questions, certain personal questions. You have not established a friendship with me. You don't really know me like that. You would never get personal question. For me, I'll be like, hey, you too inquisitive. Like, no. I'm not even going to get a second conversation with you.
Right.
If you want to really and truly know what women want and when you want to discover some of the information, it's important for you to dialogue. Have that friendship. When she feels that she's in a safe zone, boy, you could get almost anything out of her because she feels safe and secure that you're somebody she can speak with.
Right. So you're saying that we need to get to a level of comfortability where communicating is concerned at first before you'd be able to share even those inner thoughts. And so if you out there in YouTube land, you're interested, visit the Harman School of SDA. All right? Visit the Harman School of SDA. But there are other women out there who would have some deal breakers. Feel free to share them on YouTube, and I would try my best to accommodate them in the program so that others would know what those deal breakers are. Those things that you are looking for that are so critical that if you don't get them, the relationship is a no-go from the starter. But those are physical characteristics. There are also some spiritual characteristics that women would like in a man. And I know that all of them out there in TV land would be saying, yes, he must be praying, he must read the Bible, he must want to go out and witness, he must be able to preach and sing, play a musical instrument, plus take care of children division. I can see the list. I can see the list. And although I do all those things, I'm saying to you that that is a bit impracticable. Shibiki, what are the top 2 or 3 things that spiritually a woman would look for in a man?
All right. For me, I would definitely say a man who is the priest of the home. Somebody who can call worship together, somebody who can communicate. We can have biblical discussions. We can agree to disagree on certain things. For me, that spiritually there, that ability to be a priest of the home, it's so important. And even let's forget about home. I'm not married. As a single person, somebody who can call you and pray with you, pray for you. You know, you can read the Bible, even if it's over the phone. You can have those discussions. In addition to that, I'm not really concerned. Anybody can go to church. Right now I usually see there are many men who are parading with the Adventist badge. I'm Seventh-day Adventist, but nothing else. Nothing else ties in. They're not a Christian. They're not a true follower of Christ. And there must be somebody who can, I don't want to put the word, don't want to say challenge you spiritually, but somebody who you can have this intellectual spiritual discussions with. And for me, those things are very important, very, very important to me.
Yeah. And some women say that these are the things that they want, but then On the flip side, when they get involved in somebody who is like that, then oftentimes they say, but he too churchy, you know, he care more about church and God and all these things, and he's not spending enough time with me and all those sort of things. Do you see that happening sometimes?
Yeah.
And how do we balance that?
That's the important. You said it. You called the word.
But ask how?
So-
Because I see a lot of my friends, you know, growing up, we were into it, you know, Pathfinders and church and AY and choir and everything that is related to building that spiritual relationship with God. And then, you know, women would just bypass us because we too churchy. Yeah, that's it there.
Maybe
They say
that's
we
all
too
you-
churchy. And they go behind the bad boys in the school, them who give him trouble and all of that.
Well, that's another segment of discussion with women who going after bad men and leaving the church guys. But let me talk to the church guys for a bit. I mean, there is one thing to be churchy or to be spiritual and don't have a balanced approach.
Right.
Come on, you're not going to be praying every single moment of the day, every single 24 hours of the day you're praying. Like, what about the woman spending time with her? There are other dimensions of life. Many times we get so taken aback by being too spiritual, and because of the fact that we are too spiritual, we are forgetting all the other aspects of life. We're not sociable. The physical aspect of life we're not maintaining. And when we look at all of those, the emotional aspects of life, we don't know how to, in terms of emotional intelligence, we have none. So when you look at all the other stuff, and you may be churchy, but you don't have those other dimensions, a woman will not want you. She needs a man who has a balanced approach.
I hear you, and I'm told we have Tosca, she's back with us. And I really want to get that opinion from a married woman of long-standing, you know, relationship. And she would have children as well, so she would have to see that balance. Tosca, jump in on us. What are some of the physical characteristics as a woman you're looking for that is a deal breaker for you? If they don't have this, they're going to stay in the friend zone forever.
Charles, everyone will tell you they like somebody handsome, and what they say, tall, dark, handsome, or tall, light, handsome, your preference might change. But let me tell you something. What I've noticed is that the most handsome man becomes absolutely unattractive if he has a disgusting personality. So the deal breaker for me is actually not an external. The deal breaker for me is if your internal contradicting your external. So you're pretty on the outside, but you're really not pretty on the inside. That is the absolute deal breaker.
Thanks a million, Tosca. And that brings us into the spiritual characteristics that you were looking for, Tosca. What were you looking for as a woman? What did you want when you were in the dating phase when it comes to spiritual characteristics of a man?
But what was very important to me was three things: how somebody dealt with people, how somebody dealt with me, and how somebody dealt with themselves. In terms of with people, are you a kind person, right? Because I needed somebody, it was selfish, because I needed somebody to balance me. I had a tendency to be a bit rougher on the edges than you would have preferred. So I know I couldn't have a rough on the edges person lining up with me. I needed a gentle spirit. I needed a gentle soul and a gentle person to be able to deal with me as well, right? I needed someone who was long-suffering to be able to deal with me. And in terms of themselves, I needed someone who had self-control, because you know so many things would be coming at this person. If you had not mastered or allow God to help you master the ability to control your inclinations, whatever that may be, we would be in for problems. So those were the things that I really looked for. And as only as you all asked me this question, I really sat and thought, okay, what were the things that really shaped what I looked for and what I was drawn to in my husband?
I'm going to ask you if you got those things, because I know Weldon is listening. But what I would ask is this. In hindsight, looking at all these things and how good they are, is it that you specifically went out looking for someone who would have been complementary to who you are as a person? Because I know that there are some women who, they say, I want a man just like me, you know, and he must be able to argue and think, and he must be able to voice his opinion, share himself, be emotional about it, you know, and to fight and to carry on, or whatever the case might be. Or they might want somebody who just quiet and nice, and we could just sit there and be happy, you know, in a rocking chair. Is it that you went out looking for something complementary or someone similar to you?
A little of both, to be honest. There are certain complementary in terms of the things that allow us to balance off each other, right? And similar, so that I know we enjoy the same things, so that you're not in pain when I having fun. I was brought up in a family where we would have people over all the time. So I couldn't really be married to someone who that made them feel uncomfortable or, you know, just not good. And those of you who know my husband, you know, he's a people person. He likes a lime. And so in that regard, we were similar. So it's a little of both, and you have to know the things for which you need a complementary situation and the things for which you need, okay, do we have this thing that we share so that we can enjoy it together, or else somebody being in pain all the time.
All right, thank you so very much, Tusker. Do women want men to make the first move? Shibiki?
Absolutely, yes.
Of course, I think I'm still traditional. I'm still traditional in that respect, but I believe that okay, there's sometimes a woman, and I'm speaking here, you know, with my constant dialogue with ladies. Sometimes a woman would like she will like a man, right? She believes in him making the first move, but I believe men should be eye openers. They should be observant. You can tell a woman's body language. You can tell maybe her content of conversation. There's several things you can tell that gives you clue that, hey, this woman may be interested in you. With that, you make the first move. I mean, it's like, it's hard to go tell a man what, oh, I like you, and then what, to be turned on. Like, nah, I don't really believe in it.
But if the man were to make the first move and to come and ask, he could be turned down.
Well, that's okay. That's their
So
role.
it's okay for men to be turned down, but it's not okay for women to be what trouble I see there in this 21st
all right,
century?
so the interesting thing about that is because how God created men, right? God created men to be the one to go after what they want,
What trouble
right?
is this?
But we are created to give the response, to say the yes and no. And you know, that's the interesting thing, Charles. When I looked at it, imagine a man has to be the one to approach a woman. Has to be the one to the answer yes or no, to say whether yes or no. Then when they get into the relationship, he now has to be the one to ask her to marry him. And then the answer is either yes or no. So the end of the day, and she has to whether accept or not. So it's like a giving and taking. Men, do your duty. Don't be afraid to be turned down.
I need to bring in Tusker here. I feel I need to message well done. Tusker, is that the case? Are women expecting men to make the first move today?
Absolutely. Absolutely, 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 yes. All right. I am as traditional as they come, and you might get a no. That's okay. What I'll say to the men is, you know what? Don't even look for the cues to see if the girl like you or not. Go brave. Because at first, Weldon has this story about when he first tried to indicate that he liked me. I don't recall, right? But the man is married to me now, is he not? So even if the person appears to not like you at first, or they may not actually like you at first, you be diligent, you be persistent, you be in the right place at the right time and continue along. I agree with Shabiki 100%. We are responders, right? Even how our anatomy is made. What you have, I receive, right? I am a responder to you. Don't try to make me the one to make the first move. You make the first move, and then I will respond to you. And be persistent. So even if you get a blank the first time, be persistent.
Ladies, in this day and age, being persistent is called stalking, you know. And so I'm taking your advice, I'm hearing it. But I have nephews and nieces, and I would have to give them that advice with a pinch of salt, because when a woman refuses your advance once or twice, and you persist, the next thing you know, police showing up at your door, protection order, all kind of thing, because you didn't know what. But I'm saying, in this day and age, there must be some balance. There must be some balance there. And when we come back from the break, we're going to speak about the balance, because there must be some balance, not only in what we desire, also in the approach. There must be some balance. And so we're going to have a special music at this time. I am not sure who the special music is going to be done by, but I know we're going to have a special music and that it would bless your heart. So stay tuned to ASI Media this evening.
I stand accused. There's a list of my law, of all my sins, of everything that I've done wrong. I'm so ashamed. There's nowhere else for me to hide. This is the day I must answer for my life. My fate was in the judge's hands, but then he turned to me and said, I know you, I
Welcome back to ASI Media's program for this afternoon. What do women want? And we were talking offset, just ruminating on the response we would have gotten from one of our guest presenter here, Shabiki, where she would have shared with us that she believes in answering the question, who should make the approach? She believes that a man should make the approach. And so the question was asked, what if God sent the angel Gabriel to whisper in your ear, listen, this is the man for you. What would you do? And one of our persons offline would have said to us, I would move my field, just as Ruth did for Boaz, to let him know, you know, that I'm a little interested, and let Boaz make the first real move. But she would have taken the opportunity to show that there is some interest there, and then let the other person make, let the man make the major move. And I think that that is a reasonable compromise. Shabiki, what do you think? You think that's reasonable? Where you give a little hint that, you know, that there may be some interest there, but the man must be the one who should do the pursuing.
Of course. I don't have a problem with you woman giving a hint, but for you be the one to do the approach. Listen, you know the worst thing, ladies, I don't know if you ever had the experience, or you have friends with that experience. When a man will sit in front of all his friends and boast and say, oh, I didn't hustle, she come after me. Like, whoa, I think that was one of my turn off point in school, you know, and it's like, nah, you can't be in your men. Even if a woman approach you, you talking among your friends that, hey, this woman came after me and boasting and bragging about it. So, men, please make the approach.
But Shibiki,
Women,
I'm convinced that when women sit amongst themselves, because I know that this happens, that similar conversations may obtain. I'm saying to each his own. Right? God grants us the ability, you know, and shows us who we should partner with. And if we walk with him and we trust him, then I believe he would lead us, whether we ought to make that advance or where we are to stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. That's what I believe. But going along that line, it speaks to the issue of rejection. Because the man could be rejected or the woman could be rejected when that advance is made. And that brings into perspective now the emotional content. Because some men deal with that okay-ish, some don't. When we are looking for a man, what kind of emotional characteristic are we looking for? When you were looking, Tusker, what sort of emotional profile, for want of a better term, were you looking for in a spouse?
To be honest, someone who knew themselves, someone who understood when they were happy, what made them happy. When they were sad, upset, they knew that, okay, I am upset, I am sad, and this is why, right? And we have a fancy name for it now. We call it emotional intelligence. I didn't know all that fancy name then. All I know is that I needed someone who knew what they were feeling, because I figured if you understood yourself, if you were in touch with who you were, then my emotions wouldn't scare you. When I am happy, when I am sad, when I am upset, and I express that, it wouldn't scare you, because you know these are normal feelings. So I was looking for someone with whom you could have been free emotionally with, to share, and where it didn't feel as though you were in hostage in any way to not share, or this person will treat you another a bad way, or if you say too much, you know, it's those kind of relationships where you can't be free to be emotional or not emotional, right? And so I was really looking for someone who would allow that emotional freedom, because they were comfortable with themselves.
What, Tusker, what does that look like in a man? Because, for example, I'm married a couple years now, 10, 11, 12, somewhere around there. And of course, women will remember exactly how long they are married. Men, we don't do those things, all right? So somewhere around there. And in that whole communication process, now the question would have arisen that in our society, they sort of guide men into being more kind of robust and kind of, you know, macho, instead of being emotionally intelligent, as you would have said. But could we have both of them? Can they both coexist? A real macho man and an emotionally intelligent man? And what is the difference between an emotionally intelligent man and an emotional man? If you could share with us.
I love that question because we would be turned off if you just have an emotional man on any extreme. If a guy can't control his temper and keeps flying off the handle, or if you say boo, or you go by your friends and you talk to your friends too long and he just keep crying all the time, that would be a red flag. You'll be like, okay, maybe something is wrong here. But what I was looking for is the balance with that strength and support. So you want someone who can support you. And Shibiki said something very important, and she's been hinting it all the way along. You don't just give people access to you and your emotions and your mind. That is something that is earned. And as you develop more and more in your relationship, you also want vulnerability in terms of how you are able to express and what you say on both party sides. So it's not day one you meet the person and, you know, is this level of vulnerability. But as you grow, as you all realize you can trust each other, you're also looking emotionally for a level of vulnerability where you get to see things that nobody else sees. And this person gets to see things about you that nobody else sees, about your real heart and what you're really feeling, your real aspirations, your real hurts, your real fears that nobody else may know. And that's a really special place to be and to have and to share with someone.
All right. Thanks. Thanks so very much, Tusker. Shibiki, are you looking for that macho man? What does that mean? What does it even mean?
I love the combination, and Tusker summed it up so perfectly. Women, we want that combination. A man who can be a man, but at the same time be super supportive when it comes to, you know, we women, we go into this, as they say, we're emotional beings, we're so expressive, it's like we have our moments where we just cry. Sometimes we don't even understand why we're crying, but we just cry. So we have those moments, and we want a man who is so emotionally intelligent that he can decipher, like, hey, you know what, I should be here, I should be super supportive now, but not to tell you, woman, we're crying for, what's stripping this again? No, but you should be able to be there to listen to us, to understand. And in addition to that, I mean, it's very nice for me when you can have a man whom he's robust on the outside at his workplace and everything, but when he comes home, he can be able to relate to me his deepest fears. What are some of the hurts he had? What are some of the pains he's going through? I would feel bad, even being in a relationship, that somebody is going through something and his friends on the outside, I mean, the guys have guys code and all of that where only men will know. But then there's something deeply affecting him, but he doesn't feel comfortable enough to come and tell me. Because, I don't know, for whatever reason, but when a man is emotionally intelligent enough to know that, hey, you know, I can have that discussion with her. I can sit and talk. He can even cry if he have to, because depending upon the situation. For me, I applaud that, but not negating the fact that you want a man who is robust in certain things.
Well, you see, what you would have done there, Shibiki, yeah? You juxtapose emotional intelligence and effective communication and try to make them one and the same. Now, the truth is, somebody can be emotionally intelligent, recognizing, being able to read the emotions in the room and all of that, but may not be effective in communicating their emotion, how they feel about something or wanting to share. Because just as with women who want a safe space in which to express their emotion, I suppose that men want the same thing.
Yeah.
And oftentimes you would have women who may be hostile towards men. They say, well, what he crying for? You're a big man, pull yourself together. Rather than recognizing that he of himself might have his own challenge. And if that were to happen, maybe the man doesn't feel safe to share his emotion with the female because perhaps how they respond. And this brings us to the issue of healthy relationships and communication. What does effective communication look like to you, Shabiki, in a relationship?
All right, so even in a relationship, let us start with the communication process. We know that there's a sender, there's a receiver, and we have ample feedback, right? For me, healthy communication is that ability whereby we can be open on aspects, but not only open, but we can be able to know how to communicate. And one of the things I like to say, not to go off topic, but I like to caution women and even men, when you communicate in certain things you don't text. When you text messaging each other, everybody interpret your text message differently. And while you may consider it effective, it might be ineffective because of the fact how the receiver would have interpreted. And so the feedback you were anticipating, you don't get. So there are certain things when it comes to effective communication. For me, I understand that, hey, there's certain times video chat might be the better thing for us. There's certain times that it might not even be a phone discussion. We need to meet in person to deal with this. So when that happens, you're able to see body language, you're able to see gestures, you're able to observe, to do everything that you can, especially when you reach face to face. So for me, note what you're communicating, and dependent about what, we will know what medium to use so that effective communication can happen.
You see, this is what happens when you ask an English minor, about effective communication. And I'm struggling here because I'm not so sure I fully appreciated all the things that you would have said. But I know our viewers are intelligent people, so they can pull it together. Tusker, what does effective communication in a relationship look like to you?
To me, I'll be honest with you all here, right? So for me, it means actually communicating. Because when things get too intense for me, I shut down. So I'm not the woman who quarrels that you have to go on the rooftop for. I'm the woman who shuts down, right? So we would have had to, I would have had to learn that as fast as possible, I need to talk, I need to express, I need to let this person in. And then the next component for me is that when I express myself, I used to express, well, I shouldn't say used to because I am fully out of it yet. But my tendency is to express things in a very stern or combative way. And so it's like what you were saying, Charles. I think that I know for a fact that did not really, it didn't leave room for the freeness that I was looking for from my husband. And so I think it was a situation where that would shut him down as opposed to lend for open communication. So effective communication for me and people who are similar to me is first communicating. And when you do communicate, when you do actually verbalize, you do so in a non-combative way, realizing that this person here is not your enemy. This person, chances are they love you and they want to get a resolution. Right? So that you put on the gun, put on the swords, and let's get to talking as friend to friend.
While we're on that, Tusker, you would have spoken about maturity in the relationship. Because to come to the juncture where you can recognize how your actions as well as the actions of your husband, how he would respond to particular actions that you may exhibit, that calls for maturity. And it speaks to taking responsibility for actions and behavior, even in conflict. My question to you is, who do you think caused the most conflict in a relationship, men or women? And how can it be resolved tactfully? I'm not talking about only your marriage, but I'm talking about in general. Who do you think causes the most conflict in those relationships, and how can we resolve these things tactfully? You were hinting at that.
Okay, so if we say cause the most conflict in terms of forgetting to do things, then we might have to agree that a lot of times you have the men who, they live life. And, we have to remember. But if you're looking at it from the point of view of the person who has an eye out there for details, or you may call, they're picky, they're a little more picky or particular, that person would tend to be the person who might spark more conflict in the relationship, right? And usually, as life would have it, you usually have those two people together, the easygoing person with the person who is not so easygoing. And so just that in its very nature would cause some conflict. So it's not to say man or woman, I would say, because you could have the flip side where the male is the person who has more attention to detail and the female is the easygoing person. The flip side will occur where you'd have the going person who is usually chill. And this person who has attention to detail and need things to be in a particular way is the person who might raise the flag and say, hey, something is not right here. So I don't think it's more of a gender issue as opposed to a personality type issue.
And thank you so very much for that, Tosca. It's a personality type thing. Yes. It's not a gender thing. Come on, men and women out there. You need to recognize that. So it's not that it's done because all women, they like to be that way. They're just combative, like to fight and carry on. Or it's not all men they like that. They're just worthless. They don't like to do nothing at all and just creating situations. I want to suggest to you that it is from person to person, personality type. Could be a melancholic, a choleric, a phlegmatic, and one other ick that I can't remember right now because my major is farming and not psychology. Right. But in terms of resolving these situations tactfully, we have our English major with us here. How could we resolve situations tactfully? Because one of the things that happen, and I can tell you, is that one of the persons tend to fly off the handle. I believe it's all women. Women fly off the handle, instead of dealing with the matter in such a way that we can resolve it. What do you think, Shibiki? What could we do to resolve matters in a tactful way so that the conflict of itself becomes productive rather than destructive in the relationship?
All right, so communication. And one of the things I want to bring your attention to, for those of you who may not have any knowledge of it, there's something that is called the death script, right? I would have learned that concept in psychology. I can't remember what course I was doing. And I think it's very effective, whereby instead of, sometimes as women, we like to, okay, the guy comes home late, you had planned dinner and everything, he was supposed to be home at 7 o'clock, you're dressed there waiting for him, he is not home as yet. And he comes home 8 o'clock, no communication. And the first thing, of course, you would want to tear off. Of course. Like, come on, you could have at least called me, One of the things they taught us is to, for instead of saying, why you late? You're always late. You're always making me late. And you always this. Stop saying you. And what you can do now, you can use the I instead of you. See, I felt really disappointed that, honey, I was waiting here for so long and you did not even call to say that you'll be late. And when you say that I, even though the man might affect him, yes, depending upon what you say. But when he realized that I is in front of that you, it is a total different dimension, different language altogether, and it helps to alleviate conflicts a whole lot.
But it's like the third time, and it's like you don't care. That's the message. Even though you keep saying I, and you make this how I feel, but somewhere in the back of your mind is like, but this is the third time in 3 weeks. Like, you don't care. I should burn down this house.
Well, good. If the script is not working, the I is not working.
Yes. How
lady, we need to sit and have that conversation. We need to be honest about our feelings. We need to be expressive. We need to hear why he is doing what he is doing. Have that openness. I know sometimes men like to go into the closed zone. You might be talking to them and it's like they're there but they're not there, right? We know we have those scenarios, but it has to be some avenue, because for me, I get very, very frustrated if there's a conflict, and I hate quarreling, by the way, right? In as much as I am this feisty kind of woman, I hate quarreling in a relationship.
All women say that.
No,
they hate quarreling.
Well, check the guys out. Yeah, anyway. So one of the things I like to have, I prefer to have that open dialogue and that open conversation. I would not say that all the time my tone is quiet. Maybe I need work in that.
Right.
But the point is, I like to know we have to get that open dialogue. If you don't want to talk, like really you don't want to talk, it may not shut me down like how Tasha says she gets completely shut down. Like, bro, I'm coming back at this at another time because I need to know why. And it helps me to know if maybe, supposing I am the reason, just say it, right? Supposing I'm the reason and you bring that to my attention, it will be able to, hey, you know what, I need to better myself in this area because, you know, it's displeasing to my husband or to my partner or in whatever way.
And I want to just jump in and throw that out there. For all relationships, it is the responsibility of both parties
Definitely.
to grow and make the relationship what it ought to be.
Yes.
And so it is not only the man or woman that needs to do introspection and to see where I'm falling down in this relationship. Marriages and relationships are for adults.
Yes.
It's not for children. So if you cannot do some introspection and recognize where you may not be meeting the expectation of your partner, you need to check yourself again. But in that context, I know that it is said that women don't like to apologize. Right? Women don't like to apologize. And I could hear you scoffing over there in the mic. Yeah, women don't like to apologize. But I want to ask Tosca, is that true? Is this true? Women don't like to apologize? What do women want when an argument ensues?
Have to say, I find it very difficult to apologize when I feel vilified. So if I feel as though you're making me the villain and not taking the hook and not even going to acknowledge that I'm wrong, right? So because apologizing in that scenario makes me feel as though I'm the big bad wolf, right? Now, I might be the big bad wolf, but I don't want to feel that way. So it's a pride thing. Plain and simple is pride, right? However, what I have found is when I feel understood, even when I am wrong, I feel understood, it is easier for me to say, well, I'm sorry. Now, I try now to say I'm sorry faster, even when I feel like the big bad wolf, because I know it's the right thing to do, but it is hard. It is hard and I don't like to do it because I don't like feeling like the bad guy. That's just me telling you my truth. I don't like feeling like the bad guy. But anytime we get to talking and we get to that place where I feel understood, that even if it was the wrong thing, you understand the thinking behind it, that is usually easier for me to say, I'm sorry.
Thank you so very much, Tosca, for that truth. And my producer, I heard her, my producer, in my ears. She was saying, we want him to apologize. Is that what really women want, Shibiki? I mean, what do women want when an argument ensues?
Who caused the argument? What is the argument about? You know, these are some of the factors I looked at. I mean, again, this is a personal question, I should say, and it differs from woman to woman. I'm seeing somebody shaking their head to say no, but I mean, it's different. For me personally, I have grown. I was not like this all the time, but I've grown to say I'm sorry. But I am not saying I'm sorry and I wasn't wrong. Like, that is the hardest thing for me to do. I've heard marriage counselors and everybody in the different sessions say, oh, sometimes you have to take the wrong even though you're right just to solve the conflict. But that part, I have not arrived at that part as yet.
Hallelujah.
If I am wrong, I don't have a problem. You come and tell me, honey, I am sorry. Honestly, I am sorry. But if I am not wrong, I'm very passionate about this, by the way. And I have to say, I am sorry. Like, really? Like, wait, it's like automatically I get it wrong. And you did something like,
Yeah.
I honestly
that
haven't
could be
reached.
bordering on abuse, you know? And that happens where sometimes in a relationship, especially narcissistic persons.
Exactly.
They would make you feel as though you're the person who are always doing something wrong, and you would have to apologize when you know in your heart you may not have done anything.
And may I touch a point?
Yeah,
Even
sure, no problem.
There is some women out there, you know, sometimes even in abusive relationship, physical abuse and all of that, the man hits you and then he says to you, it's because of the fact you came home late.
Yeah.
Oh, it's because
Look
you
what
put
you make
extra.
me do.
Look what we make. And then the woman, I am sorry, like, honey, really? Really? You get out of that. And so we have to, even with apologizing, we have to know what we are apologizing for, who we are apologizing to. And until we can get that, that cleared up, then you know, I'm sorry, it's not a big deal, you know.
I want to share some wisdom at this point that I've learned over many moons, many relationships. And I want to take what Tosca would have said as well on board. And one of the things that I look at, you need to ask yourself, first of all, in 1 week time, what we're arguing about, would it matter? In a month, would it matter? In a year, would it matter? Sometimes there's a little piece of dust somewhere, or you put a little piece of mud or something falling. Would it matter? And by that, what I'm suggesting we ask ourselves is it worth the argument? Is it worth the tension and the hurt feelings and the apologies and all of that? And if we evaluate that first, then we would know whether or not it's worth getting into. And if it is worth getting into, then I would also suggest that it ought not to be about right and wrong. It ought to be about understanding the hurt and the feeling that your partner may be experiencing, your spouse or your boyfriend or girlfriend, understanding. And as Tosca would have said, it's easy for a partner to say, I'm sorry, or I'm wrong, when they would have been heard, when they would have been appreciated. And so, one of the hardest things for women to do is to listen. Look, trouble now. Yes, it is said that women need to speak 10,000 words per day and men need to like about 2,500 or something like that. And so what happens oftentimes is that the women, they don't want to listen, and the men feel like though they have to fight in a word sometimes. But the challenge really is effective communication,
Yes.
which is what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And sometimes as men, what I would want to suggest is that you learn to communicate effectively using less words, because that's just the reality. So you're going to use less words and be effective with those. And your spouse, most likely, she's going to use a lot more words. And you try to decipher through there what she's really saying and understand and appreciate her feelings. Let the emotional intelligence come forward there so you can appreciate and we can resolve the conflict. And bring us to this question, which is, what truly makes a woman happy? What truly makes a woman happy? What makes them happy? This is like one of the questions that is really crazy out there. What makes you happy should be in a relationship? What makes you happy?
All right. What makes me, I'll give three. For me, like when I have a God-fearing person and somebody whom, you may be down and out for whatever reason, and that person can remind you that it's going to be all right. You know, God is in control. Let me pray for you. I mean, I've had that experience, and it is one of the best feeling in the world. I wouldn't trade it for anything, knowing that somebody is by your side and, godly by your side who can really pray for you. So that makes me really happy. The other aspect of it is somebody who is super committed and supportive. I mean, being a woman in ministry, I'm not a pastor per se, as well, I don't know what the future holds, but I mean, being a woman in ministry and knowing that, we have this kind of patriarchal arm around where men are saying that, hey, you're not supposed to be there. But, you know, meeting somebody who appreciates what you're doing, who supports you preaching, who supports you presenting and all of those things, for me, that shows that level of commitment that you have to me and to what I am doing. The third aspect of it, love. And I want to, let me tie in a fourth, okay, love.
Yeah, we're running out of time, but you
Love
go
is
ahead.
self-explanatory. I don't have to explain that.
All right.
But the other aspect that I would have downplayed for many years, and I realized that, hey, I can't keep downplaying it, is the financial aspect.
Right.
Someone who has financial stability and security.
Mm-hmm.
It makes no sense. That's for me. You God-fearing, but you don't really like to work. You're not earning anything. You're not.
So you don't want a house husband?
No, no. You go work. You go work. Even if you're working less money than me, no problem. But work, But that financial stability for me makes me happy. So those are my 4 reasons.
Tosca, you're still with us. What makes you happy in your marriage? In your marriage, Tosca? And don't say the kids, all right? Because we're not going to take that. What makes you happy in your marriage?
I wouldn't tell you the kids. You don't have to be worried about that. I am made happy by freedom. So I have some lofty concepts here. So freedom makes me happy. And when I say freedom, I mean freedom to be able to create memories, to move in a particular way in terms of your life, your goals, this, that, and the other. To be able to walk into a store, see something and buy it. So you realize, although I say freedom, I am also talking about some of these things Shabiki touched to, about financial stability, about support, about that same availability of the people who I love, not just my spouse, because I'm very close to my other family members, my sister, my brothers, my nieces, my nephews. I need the freedom to be able to create memories with them, right? And I also, I start to get itchy and scratchy and very irritated things. When I set out a set of goals for the month or the week or the year, and I realize time is passing and I've not been able to hit my goals and stuff, I start to get very, very not nice. Right? So that is very fundamental for me. And the goals are related to different things. It's goals that's related to what the girls should be doing, what they should accomplish by when, what should we be doing with our home, what should be happening with the business. And accomplishing those goals gives me a great sense of personal satisfaction, as well as the freedom to just and enjoy your life.
Thank you so very much, Tosca. My producer is telling me that we are just about out of time. And it's crazy, though, that one of the things that would have been mentioned, and there's a whole question here, a whole section on financials and what do a woman want in a man in terms of finances and financial freedom, as Tosca would have mentioned. Should that man be working? How much money should he be working for? Is it okay with me having my bachelor's degree? Am I going to date somebody who didn't make it out of primary school, who's working as a laborer, cleaning drains? What do women want when they look at a spouse in terms of his financial capability? This is the last question we're going to look at, and then we're gonna see to round up. What do women look for? Shibiki, I see you're smiling. So we'll go to Tosca first and ask her. Although she's already married, right? But we want to know what do they really want to look for in terms of that fiscal level at which her husband or potential spouse is at. What do women really want when it comes to a man and material things?
I would start off by saying, instead of the wallet, what I need is a particular type of brain. So I need to be married to a very intelligent person. And lucky for me, I am. Because when our minds get together, there's nothing that could stop us, right? To answer your question though, in terms of financial stability, of course, a woman would want that sort of input into the home so that things can run smoothly, right? As a woman who is now, I always have a challenge, right? We ask for that in this century. We ask for women to go out and work, right? And men are also going out to work. And to me, it seems kind of contradictory that then you turn around and say that you expect the man to be the sole provider. We've taken away that need because we are also now working. So you have joint contributions now going into the home. But if I decide to, I would really like that if I decide to be fully at home, that my husband would be able to take care of me and the family, and that we would be okay.
All right. Thanks very much. Shibiki?
I will start on her last point. I will make it my first point, right? I like to envision this in as much as I'm working, right, and he's working.
Yeah.
I don't use the concept sole provider because I believe in putting our finances together to take care of bills and whatever.
Right.
But I like to put it, suppose when, by God's grace, I get pregnant and I cannot work,
Right.
would you be able to take care of me and a child? Come
Right.
in? Like, hey, bro, if you can't do that, are you even willing to work harder? She spoke about intelligence. A lot of women are sapiosexuals. They're attracted to intelligent men because why? Brains, when you sit down and you can have a discussion with a man, hey, you may not be working with X amount of money, but he can do something else. He is business oriented. I can go and, think about other things. So with that now, at the end of the day, if I cannot work for one or more than one reasons, at least he can run the household. Right. So those are some of the financial stability. I like to take it to the extreme, like so far in the future, because you never know what can happen in the future. So at the end of the day, I know that my husband can take care of me and my child or children.
But you see, earning the money is not the only problem. But my good friend Renee Joseph, whom I love, she says this. She wants someone who can earn money consistently, budget money properly, save and enjoy our money responsibly.
Excellent.
Would you agree with that?
Oh, totally. You know what it is to be like, ladies who are listening, you know what it is like to know that you're married and you can go on vacation maybe almost every year without having to worry about anything. You know what it's like that even though you're working, your husband can come home and say, honey, this is your little small piece, even though you would have budgeted your money together.
So how much money is that? How much money is that? Let's put a figure on it. Let's put a figure on it. How much money is that? How much money is that? Is that 10,000 a month? Is that 15? Is that 20? Is it what is it? What is it?
I don't know to put a value to it. Let me see. Actually, we're looking at, let's say, a 15,000 cumulative. Let me just put it the least. 15,000 cumulative. And oh yeah, exactly.
Just now, let me confirm that. Are you quoting in US dollars or TT? Because I know for some women out there.
And listen, and that is even a little bit of money because if we're taking about vacation for the next year, by the way, I just feel so nice with this question. If we're thinking about vacation every year, we're talking about 20,000. We're talking here about $20,000 to $25,000 the least. That's like a realistic figure. If we want, as women, we want to accomplish that. That's a cumulative figure.
Well, I want to say thank you to Shibiki. I want to say thank you for Laurelyn for sharing with us. And I want to thank Tusker. Tusker, is there one last thing you want to share with us as we are about to wrap up? Is Tusker still with us?
I want to say that when we think about things, I tell my girls all the time, your superpower as a human being is flexibility. So that even in terms of Weldon and I, we both have businesses. And there's sometimes when I have a meeting and we have the children here and Weldon would have to man the front in terms of the home. There are some times when most times he is out. His work takes him out of the home. So I know I have to man the front in terms of the girls and everything like that. But we need to be flexible as a couple and allow ourselves the opportunity to support each other as seen fit, right? We are different. We were made different. That is the blessing of being a male and a female. Your man and your woman is unique to you. Find out who they are. Don't go on anybody else's script. Find out who they are. And you will get much further than you should be like X or Y. Right? So I really hope our words of wisdom could have helped somebody this evening.
Vicky, is there any final parting words you would like to share with us as we wrap up this discussion for this afternoon?
I just want to say, first of all, to us women, let us do our part in society that we have to do. Let us play our important role. We know our weaknesses. Let us work on our weaknesses and try to make them strengths. In addition to that, I just want to say to the men out there, never be, seeing that this was a particular question of contention, never be afraid of approaching a woman. Never be afraid of rejection. At the end of the day, one of you will thank me for cautioning you that. But most importantly, I want to say, there's the best thing when you can rely on God for everything. Let us just make this afternoon's discussion holistically of what we want, but let us ensure that we have Christ in the center of even all our decisions that we have to make.
Most definitely, and I want to piggyback on that, because having the mind of Christ would help to guide us in our communication process, in understanding what a woman really wants. And I know that the program, we weren't able to capture the mental needs of a woman, academic, sexual, social, all these things. Perhaps my producer would plan a part 2 where we could delve into those things. But as it is right now, I want to thank each of you who would have taken the time to share with us on YouTube and on Facebook, to look at ASI Media, to try to get an understanding and appreciation for what a woman wants. I want to thank Shibiki again in a special way, as well as Laurelyn and Tusker for sharing with us from their perspective, so that we get a greater look into the mind of a woman, to be able to appreciate, to understand, and not only understand, but to act appropriately. I am Charles Smith, and these are some trying times that we live in. We pray even now that as we continue to work with those of the opposite gender towards the ushering in of our soon coming Savior, Jesus Christ. So as we end, I want to invite you to bow your heads and to pray with me. Heavenly Father, we thank you, Holy Spirit. You have created us man and woman. You have given us minds, intelligence, emotion, understanding, even wisdom. We pray thanking you for this, O God. We thank you for the opportunity where we were able to share, O God, and to give advice, words of wisdom, so that others can learn, O God, and grow and become more and more like you, Jesus. We pray even now that each soul that would have been touched by this program, each listener would have been touched in such a way, O God, that they would have been brought closer to you. We hope that this program was not done remiss, O God, that it would have been a waste of time or only for entertainment value. We are hoping, O God, that someone would have learned, someone would have gleaned wisdom, someone would have understood what it is to be who you want them to be. And as a result, oh God, as we continue to grow in your likeness, we pray, oh God, that we will continue to share, that we'll continue to give to others, oh God, as you have given to us. I pray a special blessing upon ASI Media, oh God. I pray that as they continue to share your gospel with others, that you would continue to support them by your mighty hand, we pray. In Jesus' name, amen and amen.